The anchoring of the Waleses in Windsor. The choice of Adelaide Cottage as a home for William, Catherine, and their children, and the offer of the sprawling Windsor apartment previously destined for the disgraced Duke of York is a masterstroke. It moves the heir's family from the periphery of London, Kensington Palace, to the ancient heart of the monarchy's thousand-year history. Windsor's not just a castle, it is a working royal town, the site of St. George's Chapel and a symbol of endurance. By planting the future here, Charles is doing more than giving them a home. He is embedding the next generation in the foundational soil of the institution, physically and symbolically separating their modern, focus brand from the turbulent Megxit saga associated with London. It signals that William's branch is a true custodian of tradition and future. Clarence House, the elegant limbo. The fate of Charles's longtime London home, Clarence House, is telling. It remains his official residence but is noticeably quiet. There is no move to fill it with a full working court. It exists in a state of elegant readiness, perhaps for a future role for another family member, Princess Anne, the Edinburghs, but its current underuse is a message. The king's primary focus is not on building his own separate London power base, but on consolidating the monarchy's footprint around the sovereign and his heir. The energy is at Buckingham Palace, the office, and Windsor, the future.
The portfolio of purpose, from patronages to paramountcy. The redistribution of royal patronages after the death of Queen Elizabeth II and the stepping back of the Sussexes was a first act. The second, more subtle act is the assignment of type and tone of duty. Charles keeps the constitutional, William gets the global. The king impeccably fulfills his weekly meetings with the prime minister, the state opening of parliament, and the reception of ambassadors. These are the non-negotiable state functions. However, observe the high-profile international tours and diplomacy. While Charles undertook his first state visits to France and Germany, signaling continuity with European allies, the truly future-focused, globe-trotting diplomacy is increasingly William's remit. His solo tour to Singapore for the Earthshot Prize Summit was not a charity visit. It was a soft power offensive, meeting political leaders and business titans under the banner of a future-focused mission. The message? William is the monarchy's chief ambassador to the next century, to environmental innovation, to global youth, to the tech elite. Charles handles the architecture of the state. William is building its relationships with the forces that will shape the coming decades. The defender of faiths and the defender of minds. Charles's lifetime work on interfaith dialogue has crystallized in his coined title Defender of Faiths. It is a profound, decades-long project. William and Catherine, meanwhile, have staked their most significant long-term campaigning ground on mental health through the Royal Foundation. This is not a coincidence. It represents a deliberate bifurcation of spiritual and psychological stewardship. The king tends to the nation's soul in its broadest sense. The Prince and Princess of Wales tend to its inner life, its psychological well-being. This creates complementary, not competing pillars of relevance. Charles's hidden message here is one of thematic delegation. You own this critical modern issue. Make it yours.
The Annus Horribilis Shield. During the king's cancer treatment, the narrative was not one of a monarchy in crisis, but of a seamless, dignified handover of specific duties. William's return to duty after Catherine's surgery was framed with gravitas. The palace's communications deliberately presented them as a united front, weathering storms. Charles, by allowing William and Catherine to be the public face of stability during his private health battle, sent the ultimate message of trust. He demonstrated to the nation and to William's supporters that the heir is not just ready, but that the institution is resilient precisely because the succession is robust and capable. The aesthetics of access, imagery, and the slow shift of focus. The monarchy understands that imagery is sovereignty. Coinage and stamps, the new coins and stamps bearing Charles's profile, are a necessary affirmation of the new reign. But look at the official portraits. The most powerful, released for Charles's 75th birthday, was not a solo shot. It was the now iconic image of him with William, Catherine, and the children at Balmoral. It is a portrait of a lineage, not just a king. This was a conscious choice.
It visually entrenches William's family as the immediate smiling future within the king's own milestone celebration. The supporting cast recalibration. The working royal family is now slimmed down, as Charles long desired. Princess Anne and the Duke of Edinburgh are portrayed as the king's loyal, hard-working siblings. The spotlight, however, on non-Wales family events is carefully managed. The messaging around the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester or the Kents is one of valued but background service. The photographic and narrative focus at major state events, the Coronation, Remembrance Sunday, increasingly follows a hierarchy. The King and Queen, then prominently the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children, then the other working royals. This visual calculus is a direct, unspoken communique to the media and the public about where the central line of succession lies.
The message received. Reading the Wales's response. A hidden message is only effective if it is received and understood. The Prince and Princess of Wales's actions in the last years suggest they are not just recipients, but active participants in this silent compact. The launch of Homewards, William's ambitious 5-year flagship project to end homelessness, is the most significant policy-style initiative launched by a royal in decades. Its scale, local, demonstrative, and aiming for systemic change, is something only an heir with decades of runway, not a monarch in his 8th decade, would undertake. It signals that William feels empowered to think in legacy terms now. He has received the message of transferred relevance and is acting upon it. Catherine's Business Task Force for Early Childhood. Similarly, Catherine's shaping of her early childhood campaign into a concrete business-focused task force moves her work from awareness raising to societal architecture. This is the work of a future queen consort building her life's portfolio, not a duchess fulfilling a patronage. The confidence to launch such substantive work indicates a secure, forward-leaning brief from the very top. The calibrated public persona. Their public appearances have shed the last vestiges of casual Will and Kate and embraced the more assured, statesmanlike, yet warmly accessible demeanor. They are speaking with the authority of the future while meticulously showing deference to the king in public. This perfect balance is the behavioral manifestation of understanding the message. The future is yours, but the present is his, and the grace with which you navigate that dichotomy is the job. The unspoken terms, what the message demands in return. Charles's hidden blueprint is not without its conditions. The message to William's supporters carries an implicit quid pro quo. Unity above all. The specter of the Sussexes and the fractures of the past decade hang over every decision. Charles's message demands that William's camp, including its sometimes fervent media supporters, avoid any triumphalism or public factionalism. The project only works if it strengthens the monarchy, not just the Wales brand. Any perception of a competing court would force the king to reassert his centrality, slowing the very transition they seek. Respect for the timeline. The message says the transition has begun. It does not say it is complete. It requires patience. Public or media pressure for Charles to step back further, faster, would be counterproductive. William must be seen to be a steadfast supporter of his father's reign, not an impatient successor. The heir's role is to be a pillar, not a prod.
The never complain, never explain heir. The Sussex model of public disclosure, media combat, and personal narrative is the antithesis of this compact. William's path requires an almost stoic acceptance of the media glare, a commitment to the unglamorous day-in, day-out duty, and a resolve to keep his family life protected yet paradoxically public. The king's trust is predicated on William's continued adherence to this ancient, demanding code. Conclusion: the bridge builder. King Charles III, often caricatured as an interventionist meddler, is in this final defining act of his career revealing himself as something else, a strategic bridge builder. His hidden message to Prince William's supporters is the architecture of that bridge. It is built with the stones of real estate, the steel of delegated global diplomacy, and the mortar of symbolic imagery. He is not diminishing his own reign, he is extending its horizon. By deliberately,
gracefully and intelligently beginning the process of transferring the mantle of primary public engagement and future-facing work to William and Catherine now, he aims to ensure that when the crown finally passes, it will not be a seismic shock, but the final, logical step in a journey the nation has already been on for a decade or more. He is ensuring that the Prince of Wales ascends not as a successor, but as a continuator. The ultimate message, therefore, is one of profound confidence and paternal strategy. It says, "I am building my legacy not only in my reign, but in the readiness of yours. My success will be measured by your seamless ascent. Support me in this, and I will gift you the greatest possible asset, a monarchy whose future is not a question, but an assured reality." In the silent language of the House of Windsor, that is not just a message, it is a master plan. The balcony of Buckingham Palace, the trooping the color carriage procession, the carefully choreographed walkabouts, these are the visible stages upon which the modern monarchy performs its continuity. But for those who speak the nuanced language of the firm, the most critical communications are never broadcast. They're whispered in the arrangement of duties, embedded in the geography of royal residences, and shouted in the silence of strategic omissions. In the wake of a transformative and turbulent first 2 years for King Charles III, a subtle but seismic recalibration is underway, directed not at the public but inwards towards the court of his son and heir. It constitutes the king's most vital hidden message to the supporters of Prince William. The transition has already begun. This is not a message of abdication, a concept Charles has long rejected. It is a blueprint for a phased, intentional, and sovereign-led transfer of relevance. It is the architecture of a bridge built by the king himself from his vision of a streamlined monarchy to the future embodied by the Prince of Wales. To decode it, we must move beyond press releases and examine the three-dimensional chessboard of monarchy, the symbolism of space, the hierarchy of duties, and the unspoken rules of public focus. The foundations of the message. Why a hidden communication is necessary. Before deciphering the message, one must understand the medium. The monarchy operates on two parallel planes: the public constitutional entity and the private ancient institution of family, tradition, and immense pressure. Direct, blunt statements about succession planning would be catastrophic. They would undermine the king's current authority, fuel unhelpful two-courts media narratives, and destabilize the very continuity they seek to ensure. Therefore, Charles, a man who has waited a lifetime and studied the institution with anthropological intensity, employs the tools he knows best: symbolic action and strategic delegation. His message is hidden not because it is secret, but because it is tactile. It is meant to be felt by the household of the Prince of Wales, the discerning press corps, and the political establishment, creating an irreversible momentum. It answers a rising, unspoken question from William's supporters: when will the heir truly take center stage? The king's answer, through action, is a definitive, he already is. Decoding the channels, the triad of sovereign communication. The geography of power, from Highgrove to Adelaide Cottage. Real estate in the royal world is never just about bricks and mortar. It is a map of influence. King Charles's decisions here are profoundly eloquent. The sovereign's withdrawal to Balmoral and Sandringham. Charles has deepened his commitment to the Queen's traditional summer sojourn at Balmoral and extended autumn stays at Sandringham. While these are private estates, their use is public knowledge. This periodic physical withdrawal from the epicenter of London power does two things. It grants him the respite he needs, a non-negotiable for a 75-year-old monarch, and crucially, it creates a power vacuum in London. Not a constitutional one, but a ceremonial and media one. When the king is in Scotland, the most senior working royal in England is, by design, the Prince of Wales. This grants William and Catherine the space to host, to undertake engagements without the overshadowing presence of the sovereign, and to be the de facto face of the monarchy for weeks at a time. It is a rehearsable slice of future responsibility.